Hello guys, it's Zarias22. You may notice that there's been a change of scenery. I just built this world to be a new redstone testing world. Obviously I've rebuilt the copper aging facility here. And what you see before you here is a copper farm. Now, I've got down here the rates of the copper farm. So this is just the simple little killing chamber that I set up. That is how much you get in 1 hour. So that's well over a stack of copper blocks, which means it's more than enough to keep this farm running constantly, so long as you've got them both running at the same time. Obviously you won't have that. And so let's pop into the tutorial. And so this design is somewhat similar to many others on the internet, but what I've just done here is a configuration that most computers will be able to handle. It works off the principle of zombie reinforcements. For more details on how this works, or if you want to change anything, I would go to a Gnembon tutorial on how it works, which I'll link down in the description. I find 5 is a good amount, because that means you do get, as you saw, about a stack of copper blocks per hour, if not more. So the way it works is, to get it started, you put in a zombie, whether that you can hook up a monster spawner. So in the actual final world download, I'll have a monster spawner hooked up to it, just as a suggestion of how you could do it. It's all up to you. I've done it before where you just hook in, like if you build it over an ocean, you can just hook in a soul sand elevator, and then just grab a drown from the ocean, lure it into the machine, and that should start it up. It does work on a chain reaction, so generally you'll only need 1 zombie to begin the reaction. However, it can take multiple. It all depends on the luck, because as Gnembon explained in his tutorial on the topic, it's not a 100% chance, but it is quite likely. And in all my experience running this farm, which has been for quite a while, I've never seen the chain reaction die out. It just reaches a point where it's at maximum efficiency, and every one of these is just loaded up with zombies and that it's flowing in at a constant rate. Now, the way that the zombies are converted into drowned is just in this. This is a pretty generic zombie to drowned converter. They just move very slowly in the cobwebs, with the water slowly pushing them, but it's high enough to drown them while the snow golems are pelting them, which causes the zombie reinforcements to spawn. And then once they'll turn to drown at about halfway, and then they have a further chance of summoning another zombie, which perpetuates the cycle. Once they've been converted, now 100% of the zombies will have been converted by this point. They will drop down into this water stream, which will then send them down into the killing area. Now, these things may seem peculiar, but they're very important to the design. Because up here you're using walls in order to get it 1.5 high, you can also use fences, but I'm just using fences down here so that it's smaller than that, and also so that it doesn't have the disadvantage of walls having a larger hitbox when they're bordering other blocks, which could cause some zombie pileups. It's important to have it tall, because otherwise, if it's too slow, it will, zombies will start pouring out. Depends on the lag as well. And also the local difficulty, which is in the bottom left of the F3 screen. That can vary depending on how long that chunk's been loaded, have you slept lately, that sort of thing. So the rates can vary quite a bit. But back to this. So what this does, chicken from the previous test, the way this works is the zombies are pushed up. Some of them will be right against the fence, some of them will be in the middle. But what we want for the killing chamber is for them all to be in a 1x1 slot. So in order to make it smooth out the process, this water will push any zombies into the center, and even any ones that do drop, especially from here, that are still too far, they'll be caught by this. So the whole idea is to make it as fast and as smooth as possible. This gap is quite important, as otherwise they'll struggle to fit through the 1x1 hole, but with a 3-block gap, that'll resolve the issue. So, as I said earlier, there are multiple ways of starting up this farm. I would recommend a zombie spawner. because you can also make the drop, in theory, as large as you want, as long as it's less than 128 blocks, because otherwise they'll just despawn. So that, and just place some water above it, and that'll break their fall damage. Because that way you can have it so that it's a zombie spawner anywhere in the world, doesn't matter if it's a void world or not, and it doesn't matter how many mobs are loaded in the world, this will always run at constant rates, which is one of the many benefits of this farm. So if you're going to build this on a server, it does not matter how many players are online. The only potential issue would be with lag. I find that down here, having 4 hopper minecarts works nicely. You probably don't even need that many, but I just do, and then obviously I've just hooked up a item filter. You actually only need 2, because one of them will receive most of them, and the other one can get 1 or 2 occasionally. So if you don't mind the losses, then you can just have 1 item filter. It's really up to you. Depending on what you're making it out of and how close this is to the fences, do not use fire unless it's really far away. Like in this situation, I could probably use netherrack with fire, but cactus is generally a safe option. I haven't put in any sort of filter to only remove rotten flesh and store everything else. You can do that. That would be something that I would suggest for improvement. So in case you accidentally throw your sword out, it won't get rid of it. This is quite a good source of experience. I don't have the exact numbers, but I know that it runs pretty well. This many snow golems may appear to be unnecessary, but the more you have, really, the faster the rates will be, because the faster it'll pick up the chain reaction. So the more zombies will be summoned as reinforcements into this area. One major area that you could improve in, that I just haven't at the moment because it's not entirely necessary so long as this is well enclosed, is to place magma blocks down here and blocks on the side. Because baby zombies can actually fall through this gap here, which means that after you've finished running the farm, you might end up with baby zombies everywhere, which probably isn't the best idea, but generally it's not too much of a bother, so it's up to you as to whether you want to place magma or lava or whatever you want to under there to get rid of them. The only issue, I would go with magma, because it doesn't really matter how fast it is. Magma is quite cheap as well, but also so that you don't have any issues with these burning down. It's important that these fences are not walls, because if they were walls, then they'll have the funny behavior where they will be thicker when they're at certain points than at others. So, hang on a second. So, see this hitbox? So I'm pressed up right up against the wall normally, but if I hit this point, the end point, then it'll be too thick, and if the zombies are here, then they'll get caught against this block, which could be an issue. You could find a workaround for the issue by positioning these water aligners in a different position, but I think it's just simpler to use fences, and also because they're not that much more expensive. And that's it for this tutorial. If you have any ideas on how to improve this farm, my content in general, or what farms you want to see in future, be sure to leave it down in the comments below. I'll be reading through all of them. And if you like the content, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps and gives me some positive feedback to help me get the motivation to keep going. Alright, catch you later next time for the concrete farm.